A mother passed away leaving behind 4 children. What happens to them will make you cry.
Hello everyone. Enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
You must protect your siblings. Bella's words before she passed away were like a blade carving deep into Alex's mind. He vividly remembered his mother's frail hand gripping his tightly on the hospital bed, her gaze weak but filled with determination. No matter how hard it gets, Alex, you must keep this family together. 3 days after the funeral, before the pain had even begun to subside, the unexpected arrival of Mrs. Roberts threw Alex into another storm. Ramirez, a middle-aged woman with a sharp face and a shrill voice, entered uninvited, waving an expensive umbrella as if it were her right. She glanced around the shabby house before stopping in front of Alex, who was holding Lucy in his arms. "Are you Alex?" she asked, her voice dripping with authority. Alex nodded, trying to remain composed. "Yes, I'm Alex. What do you want?" "Want? Are you joking?" Mrs. Roberts scoffed, pulling out a stack of papers from her bag. "This is the debt your mother signed. It's due now. If you missed it pay, I'll take this house. In 3 days, I want the money, or you all out of here." Mary turned pale, stammering. But we Mr. know anything about this debt. Our mother never said." Ramirez glared at her. "Mr. Play innocent with me. You can figure out how to pay or prepare to live on the street. I Mr. care." Alex took a deep breath to keep his composure. He stepped in front of Mrs. Roberts, his eyes resolute. "Could you give us more time? We just lost our mother. We need a little time to get things in order." "More time? I've waited long enough," she snapped. 3 days. "Mr. Waste your breath." She turned on her heel and left, leaving the heavy weight of her words hanging in the air. Mary looked at Alex, her eyes brimming with tears. "What are we going to do?" she whispered. Alex didn't answer right away. He looked at his siblings, Charles trying to keep Lucy from crying too loudly, his eyes full of fear. Alex clenched his fists, feeling the weight of the responsibility bearing down on him. That night, the family gathered around their old wooden table, but no one touched their dinner. Mary quietly wiped away her tears. Charles and Lucy huddled in a corner, staring blankly into the void. Alex stood up, his voice steady with determination. "Listen to me. I Mr. know how we're going to do it, but I promise we won't lose this house. This is the home Mom worked her whole life to protect. I won't let her win. But how will we pay the debt?" Mary choked out. "I'll figure it out. Tomorrow, I'll go out and look for work. We'll get through this." The next morning, Alex left the house early. He went everywhere, knocking on the doors of shops and small businesses in town, searching for any job he could find. But everywhere he went, he was met with shaking heads and refusals. Rumors about his family's debt had spread like wildfire, and no one wanted to hire someone on the brink of losing everything. At a small cafe, Alex ran into Edward, an old friend. Edward greeted him warmly with a hug, but his expression changed as soon as Alex mentioned work. "I'm really sorry, Alex, but I can't help you right now. You understand, Mr. Yu?" Alex nodded, his heart sinking. He understood that the refusals weren't just because of the debt but also because of Mrs. Roberts's influence, a powerful figure in town. As the sun set, Alex returned home, physically and emotionally drained. Mary opened the door, and one look at his face told her everything. She didn't ask any questions, simply taking his rain-soaked coat from him. "You're home." Charles ran up to him, his eyes filled with hope. But when Alex said nothing, the boy's face fell, and he stepped back. "Tomorrow, I'll go out again," Alex said, his voice trembling. "We can't give up." Mary nodded slightly, but her eyes were full of worry. In her heart, a vague fear grew stronger by the minute. She looked out the window at the darkness enveloping the neighborhood. Their family's future felt like the night outside, dark, uncertain, with no glimmer of hope. The whispers about their debt, about losing the house, about the orphan children, spread endlessly. As Alex walked past the grocery store, he felt the piercing stares of those around him. They won't keep that house. They'll be on the street soon, a woman whispered to her friend, loud enough for Alex to hear. Alex clenched his teeth and balled his fists but said nothing. He knew that defending himself now would be pointless. But what hurt him the most was how these rumors not only wounded him but also forced his siblings to bear the coldness and distance of others. Mary started working for a wealthy family in town. She took on every job they gave her, from cleaning to laundry to babysitting. But the disdain she faced every day felt like daggers cutting into her pride. One afternoon, as she scrubbed the floor, the lady of the house, Mrs. Rose, looked down at her with icy eyes and a mocking tone. "Hurry up. If you can't do it, I'll find someone else. There are plenty of people out there more desperate than you." Mary kept her head down and said nothing. She knew she couldn't fight back. Her family needed every penny to survive another day. When she got home, Mary slumped into a chair, trying to hide her tears. But Alex noticed. He placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice low. "Mary, you mister have to put up with this. I'll find another way." Mary shook her head, biting her lip. "No, Alex, I can handle it. At least I'm bringing in a little money, even if it's not much. If I stop, how will we feed the kids?" Alex wanted to argue, but the determination in Mary's eyes stopped him. Inside the house, Lucy lay curled up on a small bed. Lately, she'd been running a high fever, but they didn't have the money to take her to a doctor. Charles sat beside her, placing a damp cloth on her forehead. He turned to Alex, his eyes filled with worry. "Lucy still isn't better. Mister, we have money for medicine?" Alex felt a crushing weight in his chest. He walked over and gently stroked Lucy's soft hair. The little girl opened her eyes weakly, looked at him, and whispered. "Alex. I miss Mom." Her words felt like 1,000 knives piercing his heart. Alex held her hand, his voice trembling. "I know, Lucy. I miss her too. But you need to rest and get better, okay?" Alex didn't sleep all night. He sat beside Lucy's bed, his gaze distant as he stared out the small window. What was he supposed to do? Every effort to find a job had been met with rejection. Those who had once promised to help now turned their backs, fearful of Mrs. Roberts's influence. In the darkness, Alex felt the gnawing presence of helplessness consuming him. The next morning, Alex decided to try again. He went to see Mr. Raphael, an elderly neighbor who had been close to his mother. Raphael lived alone in a small wooden house on the edge of town and was known for his kind heart. "Young Alex, come in," Raphael greeted him warmly as he opened the door. "What brings you here so early?" Alex recounted everything, the debt his mother had left behind, the isolation his family was facing, and Lucy's condition. He explained how hard it was to make ends meet. Raphael sighed deeply and placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "Son, I want to help. I truly do. But Mrs. Roberts, she's not someone you cross lightly. If I get involved, I fear she'll make life difficult for me too." "But..." Alex's eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. "But what, Mr. Raphael?" Raphael hesitated for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. "Mrs. Roberts is dangerous, but she's still human. If you can find evidence that she's abusing her power or doing something illegal, you might be able to turn the situation around. But doing that will be risky, Alex. Think carefully." Alex nodded, thanked Raphael, and left. Though Raphael's advice was sound, the reality was much harsher. How could he possibly find evidence against someone like Ramirez when his family didn't even have enough money to make it through the week? When Alex returned home, he found Mary sobbing with her face buried in her hands. Charles stood beside her, looking panicked. "What happened?" Alex asked, his voice filled with concern. My employer, Mary said through her tears. Fired me. Mrs. Rose said I was working too slowly, but the truth is, she doesn't want to get involved with Mrs. Roberts. Alex was so angry he couldn't speak. He clenched his fists tightly but knew that losing his temper wouldn't solve anything. Instead, he placed a comforting hand on Mary's shoulder and spoke gently. It's okay, Mary. We'll figure something else out. You've your best. Mary shook her head, her tears falling freely. No, you misunderstand. I feel so useless. How are we ever going to get out of this? Alex didn't respond because he didn't have an answer. All he knew was that he had to keep trying, for his siblings, for his mother's memory. As the family faced mounting pressure, another blow came that night. While they were gathered for a meager dinner of dry bread and water, a loud knock echoed through the house. Alex went to the door, and the sight that greeted him left him stunned. Standing at the door were two police officers in uniform. One of them, a stocky man, stepped forward and spoke in a cold tone. We're here to inform you that this house is now under legal dispute. You have 3 days to vacate the premises, or we'll be forced to evict you. What? Alex stood frozen, unable to believe what he was hearing. But we're still living here. We haven't gone anywhere. The officer shrugged, his face devoid of emotion. I'm just following orders. If you want to contest it, talk to your lawyer. Lawyer? Alex laughed bitterly. We even have money to buy medicine for my sister. How are we supposed to afford a lawyer? The officer said nothing, simply nodding to his colleague before turning away. Alex stood there, paralyzed. Mary approached him, her voice trembling. Alex, what are we going to do? We can't lose this house. Alex looked around the small house, filled with memories of his family, the place his mother had spent her life protecting. A wave of anger and helplessness surged within him, but he didn't let it show. He needed to stay calm and figure out a way to save his family. I'll find a way, Alex whispered, almost to himself. But deep down, he knew time was running out. The next morning, Alex woke earlier than usual. He looked around the small house. Mary had fallen asleep on an old chair, her head tilted against the armrest. Charles sat beside Lucy, his eyes heavy from staying up all night to care for her. Seeing his siblings like this, Alex felt the weight of his pain and responsibility grow even heavier. He decided he had to act immediately, no matter the risk. His first stop was to see Mr. James, an older man who had once worked in the legal field. Mr. James had been a close friend of Alex's mother and was known for his fairness. Alex shared the entire story, leaving no detail unspoken. Mr. James remained silent for a long time before nodding. Alex, I know you're desperate, but I have the power to fix this immediately. Mrs. Roberts holds considerable sway in this town, and she won't back down easily. However, I'll review the legal documents and see if there's anything I can uncover, he said thoughtfully. Alex thanked him, knowing that this wouldn't yield immediate results. When he returned home, he found Mary sitting by the door, her eyes swollen from crying. He walked over to her and asked gently. Are you okay, Mary? She shook her head slightly, her voice breaking as she spoke. Alex, I don't know how much longer I can take this. I can't stand seeing Charles and Lucy live like this. I feel so powerless. Alex placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze steady. You're not powerless, Mary. You've more than anyone could in this situation. We'll get through this. Just trust me. Mary didn't respond, only nodding weakly. But her eyes still reflected an indescribable sadness. The following days grew worse. As if to push Alex's family to the brink of despair, Mrs. Roberts hired people to spread even more malicious rumors. Shops in town began refusing to sell food to Alex's family, using the excuse that they didn't want to get involved with people about to lose their home. One afternoon, Alex took Charles with him to find some food. They went to a small shop at the end of the street, where Alex hoped the owner, Mrs. Maria, might agree to sell on credit. However, as soon as they stepped inside, the cold look in Mrs. Maria's eyes told Alex what was about to happen. "Alex," she said firmly. "I'm sorry, but I can't sell to you anymore. Mrs. Roberts has threatened to cut off my supplies if I do. I can't take that risk." Alex tried to plead with her. "Mrs. Maria, I just need a little bread for my siblings. They're still small, and they need food to survive. You mister'd have to be afraid of Mrs. Roberts. I'll pay you back when I can." But Mrs. Maria only shook her head. "You're a good boy, Alex, but I have to think about my own family. I hope you understand." Alex nodded, hiding the wave of disappointment rising within him. Taking Charles by the hand, he left the store, his mind echoing with the same question, "What am I going to do?" When they returned home, Lucy was nowhere to be found. Mary frantically searched the house, calling for her youngest sibling. "Lucy! Where are you? Lucy!" The entire family scattered to search. Alex ran out into the street, his heart pounding, his mind flooded with the worst possibilities. Charles clutched Lucy's small coat, his voice trembling. "She couldn't have gone far. She's still sick." Alex scanned the area, trying to remain calm so as not to further frighten his siblings. A neighbor, Mr. Esteban, approached with a worried expression. "Alex, I just saw some strangers passing through here. They were carrying a little girl. I think it might have been your sister." Alex's heart stopped. He turned to Mary. "Stay here with Charles. I'm going to find Lucy." Mary wanted to protest, but seeing the determination in his eyes, she simply nodded. Alex sprinted in the direction Mr. Esteban had pointed, his mind racing with fear and anger. When he reached a narrow alley, he saw Lucy. She was being held by a strange man, crying hysterically in fear. Alex charged toward them, shouting, "Let go of my sister." The man turned, his eyes flashing with defiance. But when he saw Alex rushing toward him with all his strength, he released Lucy and fled. Alex scooped up his trembling sister, holding her close. "I've got you now, Lucy. It's okay. You're safe," he whispered, his voice full of reassurance. When they returned home, Mary burst into tears at the sight of Lucy. Charles ran to his sister, hugging her tightly and asking, "Are you hurt? Did they do anything to you?" Lucy shook her head, her eyes still red from crying. But inside Alex, a fire of anger burned fiercely. He no longer felt fear, only a resolve to fight, no matter what it took, to protect his family. That evening, as the family gathered under the dim light of an oil lamp, Alex looked at his siblings, his voice firm. "We've endured enough. Tomorrow, I'll find another way. No one will hurt our family again." His eyes blazed with determination, but deep down, Alex knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. The next morning, Alex left the house before his siblings woke up. He didn't want them to see the weariness in his eyes or the uncertainty in his heart. In his pocket, he had only a few coins, enough to buy a small piece of bread. But Alex didn't eat it. He wrapped it carefully, intending to save it for Lucy. He wandered through the town, knocking on doors, looking for anyone who might help. But every answer was the same, a refusal. Some people cited excuses, while others openly admitted they were afraid of Mrs. Roberts or didn't want to get involved with a family on the verge of losing everything. By midday, Alex arrived at an old repair shop on the edge of town. The owner, Mr. Manuel, was an elderly man with hands roughened by years of hard work. Alex bowed slightly, his voice pleading. "Mr. Manuel, I can do any job you need. I need much money, just enough to help my family get by." Mr. Manuel looked up at Alex, a flicker of pity in his eyes, but he quickly shook his head. "Son, I'm sorry. I know you're struggling, but I can't take the risk. Mrs. Roberts, she's already warned us all. If I hire you, this shop won't last much longer. Alex felt his chest tighten. He lowered his head, muttered a quiet thank you, and left. Standing outside the shop, he looked up at the gray sky. The heavy clouds felt like they were pressing down on his shoulders. While Alex was desperately searching for a solution, Mary was also facing mounting pressure at home. Mrs. Roberts wasn't just targeting Alex, she was finding ways to make life harder for Mary too. That afternoon, a letter arrived at their house. In it, Ramirez warned that if the family didn't vacate the property within 2 days, she would take stronger measures. Mary's hands trembled as she read the letter. Charles noticed her distress and asked anxiously. "Sis, what does it say?" Mary quickly hid the letter behind her back, trying to maintain her composure. "It's nothing, Charles. Mr. Worry. Everything will be fine." But inside, she knew the situation was reaching its breaking point. She couldn't bring herself to tell Alex about the letter, fearing it would add to his burden. That evening, Alex returned home, his face worn but his eyes still resolute. He sat down beside Mary and spoke softly. "Tomorrow, I'm going to leave town for a while." Mary was startled. "Leave? Where will you go? What about the kids?" Alex took Mary's hands, his voice lowering. "I found work at a farm outside town. They agreed to hire me, but I'll have to stay there. I Mr. want to leave, but we Mr. have a choice." Mary shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, you can't go. We need you here. Charles and Lucy are still so young. I can't take care of them on my own." "Mary," Alex said, squeezing her hands. "I understand, but if I Mr. go, we'll lose the house. I can't let that happen. You have to be strong, for the kids." Mary sobbed uncontrollably, but she knew Alex wouldn't change his mind. The next day, Alex prepared to leave. Lucy clung tightly to him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Alex, Mr. Go. I'm scared." Alex knelt down, wiping her tears, his voice breaking. "Lucy, I have to go so we can keep our house. You have to be good and listen to Mary, okay?" Lucy could only nod, while Charles stood silently, his face filled with pain. Alex left, leaving his family in their small home. His heart felt like it was being torn apart, but he knew this was the only way. As he walked toward the farm, he couldn't stop thinking about what his family would face without him. At home, Mary tried her best to take over Alex's role. She cared for Charles and Lucy, doing everything she could to keep the family together. But her strength had its limits. One day, after returning from a grueling job search, she found Lucy burning with a high fever. The little girl lay in bed, breathing heavily, her eyes shut tight. "Charles!" Mary called out urgently. "Get me a damp cloth. We need to bring Lucy's fever down." Charles rushed to find a cloth, while Mary tried to stay calm. But fear surged within her. What would happen if Lucy didn't get treatment in time? That evening, Mary sat by Lucy's bed, her eyes never leaving her sister. Charles sat beside her, clutching her hand and whispering. "Mary, when is Alex coming back? I miss him." Mary choked back tears, unsure how to respond. She simply pulled Charles close, trying to shield him from the fear that gnawed at her heart. Far away at the farm, Alex wasn't doing much better. The work was grueling, and he labored from dawn until late at night. But he didn't care about the exhaustion. In his mind, the images of Mary, Charles, and Lucy spurred him on to keep going. One evening, as Alex was taking a break, the farm manager, Mr. Pedro, approached and sat down beside him. "Alex, you're a hard worker. But I can see you're always worried. Is something troubling you?" Alex recounted his story, his voice filled with bitterness. Mr. Pedro listened silently, then placed a reassuring hand on Alex's shoulder. "You're a good brother, Alex. I'll see if there's anything I can do to help." Mr. Lose hope. Though Mr. Pedro's words didn't provide an immediate solution, they were a small glimmer of light in the darkness Alex was enduring. Back home, life without Alex became increasingly difficult. Mary was nearly worn out trying to care for Lucy, support Charles, and endure the constant pressure from Mrs. Roberts. The woman's presence loomed like a ghost, instilling fear at every turn. One morning, as Mary was washing clothes by the shallow well outside their house, Mrs. Roberts appeared unexpectedly, accompanied by two tall men. She folded her arms, looking at Mary with disdain. "I warned you, didn't I?" Her voice was icy. "The deadline has passed. Are you still clinging to this house?" Mary wiped her hands on her worn dress and stood up, trying to stay composed. "We need more time. You can't just force us out like this." Mrs. Roberts let out a sharp laugh, stepping closer and pointing a finger at Mary. "Time? Listen, girl. I'm not someone who plays games. If you Mr. Leave by tomorrow, I'll send people to evict you. And Mr. Leave anything behind." Mary trembled, but she stood her ground, refusing to show fear. Inside the house, Charles clung to Lucy's hand, whispering, "Mary isn't afraid. She'll protect us." When Mrs. Roberts left, Mary felt her legs weaken. She went inside and hugged Lucy and Charles tightly. "We have to hold on. Alex will come back soon. I promise I won't let anyone hurt you." But Mary knew that promise was becoming harder to keep. Lucy's condition was worsening, and Charles was beginning to show signs of fatigue. Their meager meals weren't enough to sustain the children. Mary herself ate as little as possible, giving her share to her siblings, leaving her body increasingly frail. At the farm, Alex was also under immense pressure. No matter how hard he worked, the money he earned barely made a dent in the debt. One evening, as he rested after a long day, he received a letter from Mr. Pedro, the farm manager. Inside the letter were Mary's shaky handwritten words. "Alex, I Mr. know how to say this. Lucy is getting weaker, and I'm afraid I can't keep my promise to you. Charles misses you terribly as well. I need you to come back, even just once, to help us through this difficult time." Reading the letter, Alex felt as though the ground beneath him had crumbled. He couldn't stay at the farm while his family desperately needed him. He went to find Mr. Pedro to ask for leave. Although Mr. Pedro was reluctant, he agreed to let Alex go. The day Alex returned home, heavy rain poured down, just like the day they buried Bella. He stepped into the house, soaked to the bone, and saw Mary holding Lucy in her arms, tears streaming down her face. Charles stood nearby, his eyes filled with fear. "Alex!" Mary shouted when she saw him. "Lucy, she's not doing well. I Mr. know what to do anymore." Alex rushed over, placing his hand on Lucy's forehead. Her small body was burning with an alarming fever. He looked at Mary, his voice trembling. "We need to take her to the doctor. We can't wait any longer." But, Mary hesitated, her eyes filled with worry. "We Mr. have the money. I'll figure it out," Alex said firmly. "I Mr. care about Mrs. Roberts or anyone else. I'll do whatever it takes to save Lucy." Alex picked Lucy up and dashed out into the rain. He ran to Mr. Raphael's house, hoping the elderly neighbor could help. Mr. Raphael opened the door, startled at the sight of Alex drenched and carrying an unconscious Lucy. "My God! Get in here quickly." Without hesitation, Mr. Raphael grabbed his car keys and drove Alex and Lucy to the small town hospital. During the drive, Alex couldn't stop praying, his eyes never leaving Lucy's pale face. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed that Lucy was suffering from prolonged high fever and needed immediate treatment. Alex felt a sense of relief, but the looming worry about medical costs quickly returned. Thank you for coming back, Mary said tearfully over the phone. Mr. Apologize, Alex replied, his voice steady. We're family. I won't let anyone suffer alone. In the days that followed, Alex stayed by Lucy's side at the hospital, while Mary looked after Charles at home. Despite continued pressure from Mrs. Roberts, Alex refused to let it break his spirit. One evening, as Alex sat by Lucy's bed, he saw her weak eyes flutter open, filled with a faint glimmer of hope. Alex. I dreamed of Mom, she whispered. She told me to be strong for you and Mary. Alex's chest tightened. He gently stroked her hair and whispered. I promised Mom I'd protect you and our family. You need to get better, Lucy. We won't let anyone take our home away. His words hung in the small room like a solemn vow, a fragile thread of hope in the darkness they were enduring. Alex knew that despite everything working against them, he couldn't give up. Family was everything, and he would fight to the end. That night, Alex returned home after ensuring Lucy was stable at the hospital. Exhausted, he refused to let fatigue cloud his mind. He knew he couldn't stop, his family still faced the imminent threat of losing their home, and he needed a plan. While cleaning out his mother's room to search for important documents, Alex discovered a small gap in the old wooden floorboards. Kneeling down to investigate, he felt his heart skip a beat as he pulled out a dusty wooden box. It was sealed tightly and appeared to have been hidden there for years. Alex opened the lid with trembling hands. Inside, he found a bundle of old papers and a contract signed by his mother, an original deed proving Bella's legal ownership of the house. A surge of strength filled Alex. His eyes shone with newfound hope, though he remained composed. He tucked the documents into his coat pocket, telling himself this was just the first step. He needed a plan to confront Mrs. Roberts and protect his family. The next morning, Alex visited Mr. James, the retired legal expert who had previously offered his help. When Alex placed the papers on the table, Mr. James's eyes widened in surprise. Alex, this is decisive evidence. Alex nodded, his voice resolute. Mr. James, I need your help. Please help me file a case in court and bring this matter to light. I can't let her continue to get away with this. Mr. James smiled, his expression filled with pride. You've done very well, Alex. Mr. Worry, I'll represent you free of charge. This is a just fight, and we won't let her win. In the days that followed, Alex and Mr. James worked tirelessly to prepare their case. News of the lawsuit quickly spread throughout the town, surprising many. Neighbors who had previously shunned Alex's family began to take an interest, and some even expressed their support. One of these was Mrs. Ellen, an elderly woman who had been a close friend of Bella. She visited Alex's home one morning with a large bag of groceries. Alex, I've been silent for too long, she said, her voice heavy with guilt. But I can't stand to see you children suffer any longer. Bella was a dear friend, and I owe her so much. If you need anything, just ask me. Mary was moved to tears. Alex took Mrs. Ellen's hand, thanking her with heartfelt sincerity. The gesture provided more than material aid, it reminded them that they were not entirely alone. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. Alex entered the courtroom feeling a mix of nerves and determination. Mr. James stood confidently by his side, while Mary sat in the back row with Charles and Lucy. Although Lucy was still weak, she insisted on being there to support her brother. Mrs. Roberts entered with her usual arrogance, accompanied by a young lawyer who appeared very self-assured. However, as the trial began, things didn't unfold the way she had expected. Mr. James presented the house ownership documents along with evidence proving that Mrs. Roberts had abused her power to intimidate Alex's family. Witnesses, including Mrs. Ellen and Mr. Raphael, stepped forward to testify about her improper actions. When Alex took the stand to speak, he looked directly at the judge, his voice clear and filled with emotion. This house is not just a piece of property. It is the place where my mother, Bella, spent her entire life taking care of us. It holds the memories of my family. I cannot let anyone destroy that. My mother told me to protect my siblings, and I will do whatever it takes to keep that promise." The courtroom fell silent for a moment. Mrs. Roberts began to lose her composure, frequently turning to her lawyer to confer. However, all her efforts proved futile when the judge delivered the verdict. Based on the evidence and witness testimonies, this court rules that the house legally belongs to Alex's family. Mrs. Roberts, you are ordered to cover all legal costs and will face charges related to intimidation and abuse of power. The courtroom erupted in murmurs of relief and amazement. Mary hugged Charles and Lucy tightly, tears of happiness streaming down her face. Alex felt as though a tremendous weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He turned to Mr. James and shook his hand firmly. "Thank you, Mr. James. I'll never forget this." Mr. James smiled warmly. "You earned this, Alex. This is a victory for justice and the love of family." As the family left the courthouse, neighbors gathered outside, applauding and congratulating them. Alex felt his heart swell with warmth, realizing that, despite everything, there were still people willing to stand by them. After leaving the courthouse, Alex led his family back home. For the first time in days, the atmosphere in their small house felt light again. Mary opened the windows, letting sunlight flood every corner of the room. Charles ran around the yard with an old kite he had just fixed, laughing joyfully. Lucy, still weak but smiling, sat on a chair, watching her brother play. "Alex, I mister even know how to thank you," Mary said, her eyes brimming with tears. "Without you, I mister know what we would have Mari." Alex shook his head, taking her hand. "No, Mary. This wasn't just me. You've me so much to keep our family together. I just did what I had to do to keep my promise to Mom." They stood in silence for a moment, watching Lucy and Charles. Alex's gaze softened, but deep inside, he knew there was still much to do to rebuild their lives. News of Alex's court victory spread throughout the town. This time, the neighbors who had once avoided his family came forward with apologies and congratulations. One afternoon, Mr. Raphael stopped by with a basket full of fruit and bread. He smiled and patted Alex on the shoulder. "You did it, Alex. You've set an example for all of us. This is just a small gift to celebrate you and your family." "Thank you, Mr. Raphael. Your help saved us during our toughest times," Alex said with heartfelt gratitude. At the same time, Mrs. Ellen also visited, bringing wonderful news. She introduced Alex to a local charity organization that helps struggling families. Thanks to her recommendation, Alex was offered a job at a local factory, the first stable job he had since leaving the farm. "I believe you deserve this," Mrs. Ellen said as she handed Alex a letter of recommendation. "Bella would be so proud of you." The day Alex started his new job, Charles and Lucy stood at the front door, waving at him with bright smiles. Mary stood beside them, smiling as well, watching him disappear down the dirt road. "He's going to be fine, Mary," Charles said, his eyes filled with confidence. Mary patted her brother's head. "Yes, Charles. We're all going to be fine." At his new job, Alex quickly adapted to the environment. His co-worker Michael, a cheerful middle-aged man, was always ready to help. During lunch breaks, Michael often told humorous stories about life in the town, easing some of Alex's burdens. "Everyone knows your story, Alex," Michael said one day. "You're not just an amazing brother but also incredibly resilient. We're lucky to have you here." Alex smiled but didn't say much. He knew he had come a long way to reach this point, and he wasn't about to stop now. As Alex settled into his new job, positive changes began to unfold for his family as well. Mary received a job offer from Mr. Jose, a renowned restaurant owner in town. Mr. Jose had heard about Alex's family and decided to give Mary an opportunity. "You're a strong young woman," Mr. Jose said when he met Mary. I believe you'll do great here. We always need hardworking and dedicated people like you. Mary felt a surge of confidence. The new job not only gave her stability but also restored her sense of self-worth. Lucy and Charles also experienced uplifting changes. Lucy returned to school, where she was warmly welcomed by her classmates. Her teacher, Mrs. Pilar, promised to help her catch up on everything she had missed during her absence. Charles no longer worried about being teased by his peers. He joined the school's soccer team and quickly became a skilled player. During one match, Alex and Mary stood in the stands, cheering loudly for Charles. Their shouts of encouragement echoed across the field. "Charles is amazing!" Lucy exclaimed, raising her little arms in excitement. Alex watched his siblings with pride, knowing that, after all the hardship and trials, his family had finally found joy and hope again. One evening, the entire family gathered around a simple but hearty meal. Mary poured water into each of their glasses while Charles animatedly recounted his latest goal-scoring moment. Lucy sat beside Alex, her eyes sparkling. "Alex, when I grow up, I want to be strong like you." Alex laughed, ruffling her hair. "Lucy, you're already stronger than me in so many ways. We're a family, and as long as we have each other, we'll always be strong." The atmosphere in the small house was filled with laughter and love. Though life still held challenges, Alex believed his family was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The difficult days were now behind them. Alex's family gradually regained stability and joy in their lives. With each passing day, he realized that it was their love and unity that had carried them through every trial. The house, once a source of pain and pressure, had now become a symbol of hope and resilience. One morning, as Alex was repairing the fence in front of the house, Mr. Pedro, the farm manager where Alex had worked, unexpectedly visited. He carried a large envelope and wore a kind smile. "Alex, I heard you're doing better. But I thought this little something might help you and your family," Mr. Pedro said, handing the envelope to Alex. Alex opened it and was stunned to find a sum of money inside. He looked at Mr. Pedro, his voice trembling. "Mr. Pedro, why? I can't accept this." Mr. Pedro smiled and placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "Mr. Worry. This isn't from me. It's a ration from your former co-workers at the farm. Everyone wanted to contribute something to thank you for your courage and resilience. They said you're a shining example for everyone to follow." Alex was moved to tears. He bowed his head, thanking Mr. Pedro and promising to use the money to improve his family's life. The funds allowed Alex to renovate the house, transforming it into a warmer and more comfortable place for his siblings. Mary even planted a small vegetable garden in the backyard, where Lucy and Charles often played in the afternoons. One day, as Alex sat in the yard reading a book, Mr. Raphael stopped by with an unexpected invitation. "Alex, have you ever thought about joining the town council?" Mr. Raphael asked, his eyes filled with hope. Alex was taken aback. "The town council? I've never considered it. I'm just an ordinary person." "Yes, but you're an ordinary person who has many extraordinary things," Mr. Raphael replied. "Your story has inspired so many people. The council needs people like you, those who stand up for justice and refuse to give up in the face of hardship." Alex thought for a moment, then nodded. He realized that if he could contribute more to the community, he could make a meaningful difference not just for his family but for others as well. Meanwhile, Mary was also making strides in her work. With Mr. José's support, she became the manager of the restaurant, earning the respect and admiration of her colleagues. She also participated in charitable projects around town, helping families who were struggling, just as hers once had. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Mary looked at Alex, her eyes filled with pride. "Alex, I think Mom would be very proud of you. You didn't just keep your promise to her, you've achieved so much more." Alex smiled as he looked around the table, where Charles was excitedly talking about an upcoming soccer match and Lucy was intently coloring in her new drawing book. He replied, "Mary, Mom would be proud of you too. Without you, we wouldn't have made it through those hard days." "No, it's you who led us," Mary said, her voice filled with emotion. "You gave us the strength to keep going." That weekend, the family hosted a small gathering in their yard, inviting the friends who had helped them. Mr. James, Mrs. Ellen, Mr. Raphael, Mr. Pedro, and even Michael were all in attendance. Laughter filled the air, carrying with it warmth and joy. Mr. James raised a glass and spoke loudly. "Alex, you didn't just save your family, you showed all of us that resilience and kindness can change everything. This is not just your victory, but a victory for the entire community." Alex stood up, holding a glass of juice, his eyes shining with emotion. "Thank you all so much. I never imagined we'd come this far. But without all of you, my family wouldn't have made it through. This is a victory for all of us." The celebration lasted late into the evening. When everyone had left, Alex sat alone in the yard, looking up at the star-filled sky. Mary brought him a cup of hot tea and sat down beside him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "I'm thinking about Mom," Alex said softly. "I feel like she's watching us from somewhere, and I hope she's smiling." Mary leaned her head on his shoulder and smiled. "I'm sure she is." From that day on, Alex's home became more than just a place to live. It became a symbol of love, unity, and the strength to overcome adversity. His family not only rediscovered joy but also brought hope to the entire community, a testament to the fact that, with determination and love, no challenge is insurmountable. The story of Alex and his family is a powerful reminder of the value of love, resilience, and unity. Despite facing seemingly insurmountable challenges, they never gave up.